Just
All right.
FYI, I'm wearing my Kansas Jayhawks jersey or shirt today, so we're rocking to the Final Four. So
Nice. Got to get your plug in there. I love it.
yeah.
Guys, I'm super excited. Steven Myers has he's become a good friend of mine and a coaching student I've been working with for 2 years now?
May 1st will be 2 years. Yep.
May 1st will be 2 years. When I first met with Steven, I think you were on pace. Like you just did 35 deals a year before. You were kind of like on that similar pace, maybe doing 40 deals. And you're like, I want to learn how to build a massive business. And you, man, this guy implements, let me tell you. So he is going to probably surpass me very soon. Maybe this is the year that you do it. I don't know. It's going to be pretty close. In 2 years, Steven went from like 35 sales to like almost over 220 sales. And this year on pace to doing over 400 sales. Not only that, Steven has built out multiple business lines, including a mortgage company now. And he has like graciously agreed to come on today and literally pour as much value. One thing I love about Steven is he's very much like me. He believes in just like being an open book and helping other people and doesn't have a scarcity mindset. So Steven, let's walk back. When did you officially start in real estate and maybe walk us through what that first year was like?
Yeah, I mean, the first year was really rough. So I originally worked in the corporate world. I was an engineering consultant. So I was very successful at doing that, climbed the corporate ladder super quick. I was making really good money. But I just saw the ceiling. Like, my boss, he was there for 30 years. He made me like 20 grand more than me a year. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to be sitting in this seat or in that seat the next 30 years of my life and really not going to get much more for it. And then like in that guy, like my boss, I mean, he was in his 60s and still couldn't retire, like he did not have enough money to retire and live a good life. So like, I just can't do that. I mean, you're literally looking at your future at that point. And at that point, like I was already starting to get into the real estate investing game. I picked up about 5 rental properties, was growing my rental portfolio. So I kept doing that. I started getting into flipping, and it just came to my boss at one point. He was just like, hey, I don't appreciate you working on real estate. And I was just like, I don't understand what you mean. And he goes, yeah, he's like, I don't appreciate that you're like buying rental properties, flipping properties, whatever. And I'm like, I don't understand how this affects you or affects the business. And he's like, well, you're not giving me and this company your full focus. And I'm like, I'm giving, and during the work hours and during the evenings, I was focused on what I needed to do for the job and getting it done. Like I focused, very careful to segment my time. I wasn't using the company time to build my real estate business. But he's like, well, yeah, well, I know you're not doing that, but I still like it in the evenings, like you need to be focused on here and like being ready for work the next day. And I'm like, I don't understand how that makes any sense. Like if I went home and watched, so you're saying if I went home, watched TV, did nothing, you'd be okay with that. But since I'm going home and like figuring out other ways to make money, that becomes an issue for you. And basically he was like, yeah. So he's like, so you had to pick real estate or this company. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to pick real estate. So yeah, so I didn't really think that all the way through.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, what happened there?
Yeah, so I didn't really think that all the way through, because obviously when you get started and you go from making $150,000 a year to making nothing, then banks all of a sudden don't want to lend you money.
Yeah, they don't love that at first, do they?
No, they don't. Even though I did have a track record of being successful, I did have like a commercial line of credit and did have some things going for me. So I was able to keep moving, but just not moving in the pace that I needed to move. So
you fired your boss.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right, well, fuck you then. I'm like gonna go do my own thing. And really his rationale made no sense.
No.
Like, the fact that you had ambition was held against you, which is crazy. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. So you fired your boss, you're in your first year of real estate, you go from a cushy 6-figure income, doing well, a career that you did really well in, and Here you are you're in your first year in real estate. Walk us through like the first 6 months.
Well, I mean, I did not want to be a real estate agent. I mean, I was like kind of focused on that. Like I was like, when you're an investor, you kind of have a bad taste. You, especially like back then, we don't have good experiences with real estate agents. You have kind of bad taste in your mouth from real estate agents, right? I think we've all worked with obviously real estate agents that, we would have, like if we were working with them as a client, we would have a bad experience with. So I was like, oh, why would I ever want to do that? Because I didn't actually see what a good real estate agent was until later. But so I was like, I don't want to be a real estate agent. I want to build a, investment portfolio. I want to do all that. Right. So I partnered up with a guy and we flipped I helped him flip 100 houses in 2017. And that was a good way to really get into understanding real estate, the real estate market. I was able to make some decent money, but as we started to get to the end of 2017, deals became hard to find. And like to get the kind of spreads to make the kind of money that I wanted to make, like it was just becoming very difficult. And so I just was like, well, I don't see this as a long-term game because I don't see deals getting any easier anytime soon, right? So at the end of 2017, I left my job middle of 2016. So at the end of 2017, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try a real estate agent. I'm gonna try commit to being a full-time real estate agent and see how that goes. So that's kind of when I made that. It was like November, December of 2017 when I dived into being a real estate agent.
Okay, so you did some flipping. So you helped with flipping. That's a lot of properties that you guys were doing. So I don't know who this guy was, but 100 properties seems like a lot to manage.
That was me managing it all. Yeah, it was crazy.
You were managing 100 flips?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was absurd. I mean, so, I worked from 6 a.m. because that's a lot of time when contractors would get to work until like 10 p.m. every night,
That's just wild. So now you're like, okay, I'm starting my real estate business now. How did the first 6 months go? What were some of the things that you did and some of the trial and error that you laugh about today?
Yeah, I mean, I came in with a very false confidence, because I was really successful. I have an engineering degree. I graduated third of my class engineering. I graduated, second of my class with an MBA. So I'm like, okay, I know I'm smart, right? So I was like, okay, I'm really smart. I climbed the corporate ladder. I was able to flip a lot of houses. I was doing a lot of things that people can never do. So I was like, I know a shitload about houses. I know a shitload about real estate, right? So this is going to be fucking easy. That's what I was like. So then I was like, oh, okay, well, how do I find people though? So and then when I finally did find people, like I would scare them because I knew so much about how, I would like give them, diarrhea of the mouth, like tell them so much, way more stuff than they needed. And I wasn't listening, I wasn't listening to them as clients, listening to what they want. I was just over there just trying to be like this expert, just, mouthing off. So I mean, it was a hard transition. I mean, it was, I lost a good amount of money that first 6 months, and then, I mean, even until like, I would say it was a hard transition, fully until, I mean, even until we started coaching, like I always still have my doubts in the back of my head, like maybe I should go back to the corporate world, maybe I should, maybe this isn't for me, but I kept going at it. I leveraged my flipping experience because like I was still kind of doing some flips. So I would like post them on my Facebook page, like kind of like in middle rehabs, and people like really love that kind of stuff. So I started getting a lot of engagement real quickly on my Facebook page. Mm-hmm. And then that would drive traffic, which would drive, and then I figured out how to like drive that to make leads, but obviously, social media leads are great lead source, but they also don't buy houses right away, especially if you don't have good follow-up, if you don't know what good follow-up is, if you don't have a good system, so, I just kind of built in, started from scratch. I had no sales experience, I had, I'm naturally an introvert, so I'm not out at a bar, like talking to 30 people, like I'm at a bar, looking at my drink, so it was a very hard transition for me. So,
Well, it's funny because, with your engineering degree, the way your brain thinks, you think in systems. And so that has become an asset for you, but you've had to learn how to make it an asset in this business because it's very much a people business. And initially, when you're really getting this thing off the ground, it's a lot of it is based on your emotional intelligence, right?
Right.
There's a joke, I'm more like Captain Kirk and you're more like Spock. And this is
Yeah.
why our whole thing works quite well. So year one, how many sales did you do in year one approximately?
I did like 29.
29, which is really good, but keep in mind he's in Kansas, right? Smaller unit out there.
Yeah. I mean, I made like what, like 70, 80,000, spent like 30,000, trying to figure it out.
So for anybody like listening right now, Steven, and it's like maybe their first year,
Yeah.
what are some of the things that you would suggest that they focus on to really ultimately like get through that first year and have some success? Looking back, what would you coach now to some of the new agents that you work with?
I mean, I think, which I don't know if it was, I don't know, like for me, when I started, like I kind of think back, like I'm like, man, we're like mentorship and part in working with someone. Like I was like, I don't know why I didn't join a team, I don't know why. Maybe there wasn't really a team that I thought was available. But I think I would have loved, like that would have been a nice transition for me a little bit to get started. Or just some kind of mentorship, I just didn't have any mentorship. So I was over there like on my own, and I had like, and I was at a brokerage, a brick and mortar brokerage, and it's like I had like there was a big producer there, and he offered some guidance, but he was also very careful about what he did. He didn't like give me like the playbook. He just like, just gave me some feedback here and there, but nothing major, nothing like life changing, He didn't like be like, oh, here you should create a CRM and here's how you should classify your leads, and this is how you would do like a follow-up plans, and nothing like that, but of course he didn't use that because he was known as, radio, TV, kind of that kind of agent, like the old school brick and mortar brokerage agent.
So, Steven, what are the main pillars in your business? Where are you guys getting the majority of your business from right now? Like, what are the things that you're seeing the highest return on your investment?
I mean, for us, we're still huge on social media. I mean, we focus a lot on social media. I actually just hired a marketing guy a couple months ago to really start pushing a lot of video, start pushing a lot of more content on our social media sites. But social media has always been a big one. I mean, we're getting, each month we're still getting 400 or 500 leads off our social media posts, as well as just a ton of engagement. So that's been an audience that's been slowly building. I mean, now we're getting, we're starting to reach into the couple, 100,000 plus, in terms of our reach on our page on a monthly basis. We started also looking, doubling down on that, Instagram, YouTube, as following your suit there. So just now we've got on TikTok. So we're also in the process of setting up ads on TikTok, setting up ads on YouTube, just to try them out, because obviously it has been successful for us on Facebook. Pay-per-click has been a big lead source as well. So we've focused a lot on that. Again, they're kind of working the same. I mean, those leads suck if you don't have good systems and good follow-up in place, but which, that was the challenge from the beginning with the social media leads. And then obviously we do use the portal leads as well, mostly to kind of keep building up our buy now business. So as we continue to grow.
Social media, internet leads, right? Like Google, Bing AdWords.
Yep.
Anything else that you guys have been kind of focusing on pretty heavily?
I mean, we're now starting into getting into, we haven't really focused a lot on it, but it's a transition for us this quarter one, and we're going to focus on it hard on quarter three. And that's more like mailers, getting list of potential like high equity positions and mailing them out for, back taxes kind of thing. To kind of start generating some business, because we've been really successful as creating a buyer business, but we haven't really been that successful at getting listings yet, and that's a big weakness. And that's kind of, how it's because of how we focus. And I've known for a while, I mean, I know you said it to me, Mike Gerbeck, he said to me, like, like you're building a buyer business, and at some point you're going to need to flip the switch to get focused a little bit more on listings. So I think we're at that point where we're transitioning to that. So I'm still obviously focusing on buyers a lot, but also putting more effort into listings.
Well, keep in mind, 2 years ago, you were a single agent with, doing 35, 40 deals, which is very respectable. Mm-hmm. And today, how many people are in your organization today?
So we have like 12 agents. I have we just hired our 4 ISAs. So we got 4 ISAs. We have a transaction coordinator, a social media, marketing person. And of course, now we have a lending company where we have 2 lenders. I have 2 lenders that work for me. And then I'm sure I'm missing a couple other people, but.
Yeah. So how do you go from like literally you to that many people in 2 years? Like, what were your first steps when you realized that you needed leverage, and you and I started working together and we started putting the infrastructure of like, hey, where do you want to go? What were some of the first strategic hires that you focused on?
I mean, well, when you first started coaching, I mean, you're just like, first of all, just get an assistant, And so I was just like, I kind of fought you, I think, for a week or 2. And then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. So, and then I just got hooked, right? Like I could hire the assistant. I'm like, okay, like a lot of the stuff that I wasn't able to get done, I literally got done. And like, stuff that's been on my to-do list for months, right? Was able to get done. And this kind of goes back to me, like before we kind of picked coaching, kind of get back into why I was really adamant about, finding a coach. And obviously it was lucky that I came across you and we were able to connect. Because like during the pandemic, like I knew like as an agent, right? Like I was, 29 deals the first year, went to like 40, 39, 40 that second year. And then my third year, I was on pace for like, between 40 and 50. And I was like, okay, well then I'm making progress, right? Which I was okay, but I wanted more. But then the pandemic hit, right? So like right in that March timeframe. So then like my availability, I stopped, there's nothing to do besides really work at that point. Like you're stuck in your home. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go back and start checking in on all these people that I told them I was going to check in with, but I didn't have time. Right. And I did. So I would call them and they're like, hey, I bought a house. And so I just like went through a list of like 50 people that I had on, like that I knew I marked in my system that I need to follow up with. But I never followed up with them. And I like 30 of them already bought a house. Right. So I'm like, fuck, man. Like I'm over here like hustling new leads. Right. But I literally had 30 people that would have doubled my business for the year that I already knew and I identified as, activity, but I just didn't have the time. And now looking back on it, it was obvious. It's obvious what the solution was, but for me, like I beat myself up. Like I'm like, but I was busy. Like I was busy every day. Like I was showing houses. I was, creating social media content. I was managing my transactions. I was doing all this stuff, and I didn't have time. Like I worked more then than I do now. I work more at selling 35 houses a year than I do selling 400. So
let's just right now. I guarantee you, there's people listening right now. Comment in the chat if this sounds like you. Right? Jack of all trades, master of none almost, right? Like you're basically doing everything in your business and you just feel like you're on this like never ending hamster wheel and this loop. And I'd love to hear the comments in the chat. So here's the thing with Steven. And I've said this to you many times. Steven is too fucking smart that it makes him stupid, at least in the past. Because you are so smart, you could figure out how to do so many things. And what I had to remind you, I'm like, Steven, this isn't a contest of who's the smartest. This is a contest of like, how can you work the most efficient time and then surround yourself with people that are actually going to do other things stronger for you. Right. And you did fight me a little bit in the beginning, right? Yeah. I remember that because you're like, well, I can save money. I can save money on not having an assistant, right? And I could do it myself. But the problem is you were capped out. There's only so many hours in a day. I was like, Steven, you got to trust me. When you trusted me, things started really coming together. So you had your first assistant that took off some of that administrative work off your plate, which now freed up your time to do better follow-up.
Right.
What were some of the next hires that we kind of worked on?
And
Because
then,
there was a
yeah,
progression.
I mean, then like the next week or like, once the the admin came in and really started, doing helping with the transactions, started doing some of the social media posting, like then it opened up all this opportunity, more opportunity to show houses, right? More opportunity to follow the leads. But then I got more stuff under contract. I got more clients, then I had more contracts. So I'm like, okay, well, like just literally like in a month, like it was like, my pendings went from like 2 to 3 to like 6 or 7 at a time, right? In literally like 30 days. And I'm like, okay, well, shoot, now I'm already capped out again, like I'm I'm happy, I'm making more money. But there's still a lot of balls being dropped. So then we brought in an ISA, so I had one of my lender partner at the time with all the COVID things kind of getting a little, was getting frustrated with the lending side of things, which was understandable. And he's like, hey, I kind of want to get into real estate. Like, then I'm like, dude, you're like a shark on the phone. Like, let's do this, like we were working with Joe, so we're like, let's create this, let's get this going. So, so he came over and joined as, started an ISA. And then immediately, like, we went from 7 pendings to 10 to 12 range within 30 days, and at that point, but we also brought on one agent, a new agent, and she was doing well. She was getting deals under contract. And then, 2 months later, we brought on the second agent, so back, so it was like May hired you, June assistant, July coach, and by September we had 2 more agents. So
Now, there was some growing pains, and there still is growing pains, just like any business, right? What were some of the early growing pains that you found when you started adding leverage?
I mean, I think sometimes it's like it's hard to give up control. Like it was, still to this day, it's still hard to give up some control for me. It's just because I have that control freak, right? And you just kind of feel like no one's going to do it as good as you. And maybe there's some truth to that in your brain that you convince yourself of, but obviously if you're not doing it, then no one's doing it as so that's the issue. You keep on putting it on your list, like I gotta do this, and then you're like, okay, well, I didn't get to that thing today, so I guess I'll get to it tomorrow, right? So that was one of the things that was, a big thing that was an issue for me. And then just accepting that my people are going to fail, right? Like, and just understand that that's part of the process. Like, and obviously as we continue over time, we've built in, with your help, building in better buyer processes, better seller processes, better client follow-up processes, right? So we have a lot of systems in place to try to prevent that, but it's still going to happen. Like no one, a new agent to the industry is not going to show a house as good as I am, right? Like it's just probably not going to happen. But now it's my job to figure out how to accelerate that learning curve for that new agent as fast as possible so they can get to my level and exceed me. Like that's my goal, right? I want them to be better buyers agents than me. I want them to be a good listing agent. Like I never really thought myself as a good buyer's agent or a good listing agent because in the end of the day, I'm still an engineer, so my natural skill is never sales. So yeah, so I'm just constantly kind of, that was just a big thing. And it was hard, especially, it's hard today still when you lose a deal because, a particular client doesn't want to work with one of your newer agents and they kind of like, you can't really save it or something. And I just have to accept that that's going to happen. Right. So, but it hurts a lot more in the beginning because you need that money for growth, So, I mean, obviously I still want the money today, but it hurts more in the growth perspective at the beginning. And then the third thing is which is still like a process of happening, right? Is just me slowly getting out of production. I mean, that's just been a growing pain. Because, even as we continue to grow, the amount of business we have and opportunities we have exceeds the amount of agents that we have in terms of handling the production. So I'm still at this point taking on some clients. It's dramatically less, but it's still, I would still be a top, 20, 30 agent in my market, probably based upon my solo production.
It's funny. I remember a conversation you and I had about a year ago, and you're like really enjoying production.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh yeah, I'm never going to get out of production. And I was like, Steven, I'm telling you, you're going to want to get out of production at some point. The reason being is you're too entrepreneurial. The more time you're spent in your business, the less you can go and build other business lines. And again, you fought me a little bit at that for a bit, but here you are, you're kind of like, it's starting to become a reality, and you're starting to see that I will be a better asset to my team members, my business partners, and your own family by actually being out of production, because it's allowing you to be more creative as an entrepreneur.
Right. No,
So are you pretty much out of production now? Like what's that transition been like?
I'm still like doing a lot of carryover from when I was, you know, significantly in production. But I'm not really taking on many new clients, very, very little. Just maybe if there's like a really difficult client that's a high net worth kind of individual. But at the end of the day, like I know I'm not going to be the best person, because most of my day, I've now graduated to where I'm spending my time and pouring into the team, whether it's training, one-on-ones, meetings, statuses, check-ins, kind of all that stuff. I've been, that's been a big focus of mine, is pouring more into the team and getting those agents, the agents trained up faster and more productive.
And one of the things that we started working on about a year ago is adding like kind of like more of a showing agent role to kind of support your production.
Yep.
What kind of feedback could you give to anybody that's maybe considering that, adding that piece of leverage to their real estate business? What are your thoughts? How did that help you?
I mean, I think honestly, like going back in time, I think that that's the first hire, like, I think that if I were to go back in time, that'd be the first person I would hire again. Because I would kind of maybe put on to them some of the admin jobs, but obviously, it's tremendous. It allows you to grow in a lot of different ways quicker than you could ever imagine, like having a person fully focused on opening doors for you, especially when you get started. I was spending 8 to 10 hours on my weekends each day, opening doors. So, like right now I don't know how many buyers I have under contract, maybe 10 on my own or something, but I've only shown a few houses, my showing agents show those houses. So
Nice. We'll do an upcoming session specifically on the showing agent role and how to add that to your business, because I think that can be a really good win-win asset.
and it's a great win, like for the showing agents, it's a great win. Like I think when we originally talked, there was, I think we were both still kind of like, how well is this going to work? It was pretty early, but we have a wait list for people that want to be on it, because one of the agents that went through the program, he's going to be 100,000, 100K producer, and he's 20 years old,
Amazing.
and then, at least one, maybe two of the ones I have now will be 100K producers, so like they're learning, they get access to me, they get access to the team's resources, and then, if they're going to be, I just call it an apprenticeship. Like it's basically what it is. It's like, it's a paid internship. It's an apprenticeship. You're not making a ton of money on it, but if you really want to get in this business and learn how to do it the right way, like what's the difference between making 40K for a year versus, even somebody like me, like, right. Like I got to the point where I about bounced out because I wasn't, able to pay my bills, so.
Totally. And I think honestly, as an industry, if you think about it, just like every other industry, if you're going to be an electrician, a plumber, there's a ticketing program, right? You have to do an apprenticeship. Why is real estate not like that? Interesting, right? Maybe that would help the failure rate in the industry, right? If, high producers were able to have a mentorship program and take people under their wing.
Right.
Right. So speaking of that, I know you have multiple different lines of income now that you've kind of worked on since we started working together. So maybe share some of the things that you've been able to do now that you've have more leverage, more consistency in your business without you having to exchange time for money. What have you been able to create since?
Yeah, so obviously, we're with EXP, so I'm making rev share. So that's one line of business, and it's making a few thousand for me, but it's nice money. I'm not going to complain about it, right? And
Few
then
thousand a month? No, Steven? Few
what?
thousand a month now?
Yeah, a few thousand a month. Yeah.
Awesome. And you've done like literally like nothing for that. It's just something that just organically has kind of grown as you've built your brand.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And it keeps growing more. I mean, we're starting to get more and more inquiries as we're, becoming the fastest growing team in our state, that's, building that national attraction is starting to happen now.
Amazing. So that's one business line. What are some of the other things you've been able to create?
And then this year we went all in on a mortgage company. So we started a mortgage company January of this year. So we've already closed $4 million worth of loans. We have $4 million pending, and we have another 10 to $12 million worth of pre-qualified buyers out shopping. So that, yeah, and it's been nice. Obviously we have a great lending, great lenders. It's a challenge, right? Like just like anything new, it has been a challenge. They have overcome the challenges. I mean, we've had some hiccups along the way, but they've been really, good on adapting as we're growing quickly. I mean, even everyone's been surprised about how fast we've even done, how fast we've grown. So that's been really nice. And it for us, like for me, like we have an ISA department, right? So that was one of the things that obviously you have and you helped guide us to launch. We have buyer, or we're talking to buyers all day long. I mean, they're just over there just pounding the phones, text messages, having conversations. And so obviously as an agent, you would prefer your person that you work with to talk to a lender. So we're just giving them that option. And then the lenders are very integrated in our systems that they are reaching out to these people as quick as possible. And we've just been working on scripts and working on processes on how to really increase that pull through to them. And I mean, I think this weekend we set, like on Saturday, we set 8, pre-approval appointments,
Wow, that's awesome.
We're seeing it's increasing our stickiness with our clients, and it's just increasing our conversion rate, because now you have an agent that's working on the conversion and the lender working on the conversion, which is just going to increase the conversion. And if one wins, then that's fine, right? Like if the lender gets a business, but they decide they have an agent friend, like that's fine. But from the marketing, from me being the marketing company, I don't care, because we're still getting revenue off of that, right? Still paying back for some of the marketing that we're spending. The same thing on the agent side, right? So if the agent gets the business and they decide to use their lender, perfect. Happy with that, right? Like this is, and obviously, and working with you, you've instilled in me the abundance mindset, which wasn't, available like at my last brokerage. It was very much like, we got to keep our secrets, So, and we constantly, are talking about that, like in our environment, like, hey, it's all right, like it's all right that we lost that lead, or it's okay we lost that buyer, right? Like it's fine. Like there's 10 more behind it.
Love it. Steven, what are some of the people challenges that you've kind of gone through as you've built up your businesses? Like, what are some of the things, like for anybody that's on the fence, thinking about growing a team, or maybe has a team and is kind of like feeling like stuck? What are some of the people challenges that you found? And then what are some of the things that have really helped you? Because being an engineer, I'd assume that like that doesn't come as naturally, the people side of the business.
No.
You're managing a bunch of personalities. So maybe talk through that.
I mean, yeah, I mean, in full transparency too, the first 2 agents I hired, I mean, they don't work for me anymore. They left the team, which, and I don't blame them, right? Because we changed dramatically from the team we were to the team we are, like we don't even look the same. I look the same, and Travis, who was the first ISA, he's still there. But outside that, it's been, it's all new people. But, obviously accountability becomes really big, being able to hold one, yourself accountable, 2, the people, your direct employees accountable, and then 3, the agents, right? Because that's a big thing. Like, the next thing is like leads, right? Like, you know, for us at leads / appointments, you know, because we focus with our agents on appointments and not leads. You know, it's like how to distribute those appointments, you know, price points, stuff like that. Because you do get people that, you know, are very upset. Especially like when we first kind of would like hold back people on appointments, or would distribute how we would give our good leads to a agent. We did that not transparently, you know. Now we do it very transparently. It's very much a system in place. Very much, you know, you're not on appointments anymore. Very much know what kind of appointments you're going to be getting. So, sorry.
No worries, man. Take a drink.
So, you know, so we have built that out because you start creating some entitlement and maybe some, you know, people that aren't really holding their end of the bargain, right? Like, I think we all have agents. If you have a team that have an agent that just wants a bunch, well, they want leads, but they always want leads, right? But at the end of the day, they're not producing results. So how do you handle that situation, right?
Well, that was something that, you know, you did an audit as you were kind of like going through your business, and you were kind of looking at appointments versus like deals closed with your clients, and you kind of didn't, or with your agents. You're making me cough now. And then it's like contagious.
It's Joe's fault. Let's blame Joe.
Yeah, it's totally Joe's giving to everybody on this call right now. But yeah, basically you did an audit and you realized there were some agents that were burning through a lot of leads.
Right.
You saw a gap and obviously there was either an attitude or a training opportunity there. Those were some of the early challenges that I know you kind of worked on. Maybe walk people through how you did like the performance management piece there.
Yeah, I mean, because as you grow, like your systems have to grow, right? And that's just part of it, you know, like, dang, I don't know why I'm coughing here. But as you grow, like your systems have to grow with you. And it's really easy to get into the mindset like, okay, you know, we're setting appointments, so we're going to be successful. You know, we're buying leads, we're going to be successful. And then you kind of just keep pushing it down the line, like where that failure is going to come. And so we got to the point where it's like, okay, well, you know, I was at the point last year where it's like, okay, I have more people working for me. I have more leads coming in. I have more people working the leads, but the deals are not really going up, right? Like, and me as the agent, like I have 75% of deals. So like, what is going on here? What, you know, why is this happening? So, so yeah, so we just did an audit of the system. Like, okay, well, let's go through each lead, let's go through with each agent, you know, and I would just see with some of the agents, they would just meet the client at the house and then they would never follow up with them. And I'm like, why did you not follow up with them? Well, I just had too much going on, right? Okay. So again, I mean, it wasn't an agent problem, right? That's a me problem, right? Like I just created a system that allowed that to happen. And what they were telling me is that they were not wanting to be a high producing agent, which is perfectly fine, right? Like, and we've set up our system now where it's like, I want to know their goals. Like if you want to do 2 or 3 deals a month and you're okay with that, like I want that to happen. And we're going to build that plan together, right? And then if you want to sell 10 houses a month, like I want that to happen. Let's build that plan together, right? So, but we were just getting too many leads. And then, you know, we had new agents who were licensed 2 months in the business, had going on 10, 15 buyer appointments a month, and just didn't know how to operate in that environment.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so at the end of the day, it was me. And it's one of those things you continue to learn how to grow as a leader, right? Like, you know, you see it and you're just like, man, what the fuck, right? like I would have died for those kind of appointments, right? But that's me, right? Like that's why I'm running the team. That's why I'm not, you know, joining the team. So You know, it's not going to be the same mindset for that person. Like if you give me 20 opportunities, I'm going to try to hit on 20 of those opportunities. Some people just can't handle that capacity, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like I've just had to, you know, just come to that conclusion, and it's okay. Like so, because like that still works for the team, you know.
Well, and at the end of the day, as long as they're meeting a minimum standard that works for everybody, that's fine. Not everybody needs to be your A players.
Right.
Everybody's valuable and everybody's an important part of the puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So, Steven, obviously to grow, you had to do some recruiting. And I know for a lot of people right now, agent attraction recruiting, whether it's for their teams, their brokerages, whatever it is, what are some of the most effective ways that you've attracted agents?
Um, man. I mean, it's just mostly just been our presence on social media. I mean, it's kind of just been people wanting to be a part of seeing our culture, wanting to be a part of our culture, seeing agents grow in our ecosystem, knowing that they want to grow to that next level. You know, people holding them accountable. Our goal is to make it as easy as possible for the agents. It's still not easy, right? But it's easier than it is anywhere else. But just having them focus on meeting clients and providing really good service, that's what we want. So people that want to do that, they thrive well here. So a lot of it's just been from mostly an attraction standpoint, and just people, us doing more deals, us growing in the chart, us running social media ads, and then we've been kind of like pivoting and putting some social media ads about what it's like. We did like a testimonial, like minute, but with a bunch of different, snippets from agents, put that out on social media, put some money behind that. So, things like that, just kind of just, being everywhere. We're doing a newsletter out to the agents now. We're doing, so that's what we're kind of doing. And we're never pitching like, you should work for us, right? Like, it's like, here's things that we're doing. And so that's what it's been for the most part. So
I love it, man. You built a great brand, by the way. Steven has pink as his like main color, right? For your brand, Urban Cool.
Yep.
Walk us through that decision. That to some people that might be a bold move. I get it though.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just, I just want to be different. You want to stick out, like obviously that's one reason why I joined EXP. I don't want to be the old, like, not to hurt Remax or ERA, but a lot of brands are just red, blue, and white, right? Like that's what a lot of brands are focused on. Like, and even some of the like local team brands, like they've just gone to that same color scheme. Like, why? That's such a boring color scheme, like it's everywhere. And I mean, I get it's patriotic or whatever. I'm guessing that's the reasoning behind it, but outside that, like it's very boring. Like I want people to drive by and be like, what the heck did I just see? So yeah, I mean, so we switched over to pink. And we have fun with it, and it's a good color, stands out. And that's even for us, like everyone pretty much in town will know like our branding now. I mean, people hardly even know that we're with EXP. I mean, it's like an afterthought, really, which is fine because a normal consumer doesn't even know what EXP even stands for. So
it's all about your brand. It's all
right.
about building your own brand in your marketplace versus renting somebody else's brand. And we've always talked about the importance of that.
Yep. And
you own that.
Yeah, and it's like, and now with the video, we're starting to get to that local celebrity status where now I go to a coffee shop or to a baseball game or wherever, like someone always recognizes me from the branding, from the from the ads, from whatever. So yeah, so it's just constantly everywhere right now, and so it's really starting to take it. It has its own little, like, even though when we started talking about switching over and changing the branding and all that 2 years ago, it's just now a completely its own little beast, where people are like, hey, you're part of Urban Cool, and I'm like, okay, cool, yeah, yep. I see your stuff all the time, you know, I'm like, cool, I like that, you know. So I mean, I'll have agents I've never even met will come up and shake and be like, hey, we should set, I mean, I literally had two people like meet me and be like, hey, we should set up some coffee, you know. And I'm like, I mean, how easy is that to recruit people like that, you know?
You want to become a better recruiter, be omnipresent, and build a really good brand for yourself. Seriously, it helps. You know, there's obviously other strategies and techniques, but that's a really important one, right? Because there's two audiences. There's your clients, and then there's other agents that are going to look up to you, your brand and what you're doing. So I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. Steven, looking into the future here, what can we expect from you in the next couple of years?
I mean, you know, the big focus is obviously for us is growing. I mean, we want to be, you know, in a position to hit, you know, 2,000 homes in our market, you know, in a few years. So we want to be the dominant brand in our market. And then on top of that, we want to create all these revenue streams that are creating $1 million worth of revenue a year. So
Love it, man.
so
And you'll do it. I have zero doubts. Like, you're the kind of guy that will absolutely do it, because come hell or high water, you're going to just put in the systems and the work. And now that you understand leverage, it's like, it's become like your new obsession. You realize like the power of it and how much faster you can replicate results by having leverage.
yeah, and it's just, and you're able to serve the client so much better, right? Like it's just been such a better experience. I mean, we had some hiccups, but for the most part, it's been like the clients really like it. Like, you know, I mean, I think a lot of, you know, real estate's changing, right? Like real estate's changing really fucking fast. And people want that Amazon, they want that Apple experience. They want to be like, hey, I got a real estate question, and whether it's title, lending, insurance, buying a house, investment, like you want to be that place in your community that people just like, oh, you just need to reach out to that company, right? And it's like they got you taken care of no matter what. Like, you know, we're going to make sure your service is great. We're going to make sure, you know, that we do a good job, that we work in your best interest, right? And so it's like, you know, it's like for me, it's like Amazon, right? Like there's a lot of times like it's just easier for me to go to Amazon to buy something. Could I maybe buy something cheaper somewhere else on a different website? Yeah, but I don't have the trust that I do with that brand. You know, I don't have the time to research. Like I don't want to sit there and research. Like I know that Amazon will, you know, will take care of it for the most part. And if something messes up along the way, like if I don't get the item, they're really good about giving refunds or whatever, you know? So it's just kind of just creating that all-in-one approach, you know. That's what we're driving to. I mean, we're working on launching title this year. We're working on launching property management this year, you know, with the lending company. You know, we're looking at adding like some hard money options, you know, some one-time closed construction loans, you know, to really start hitting into this new world we're living in. So
You know what I love about these conversations is, and I hope people are picking up on this, but we're not just talking like being on a hamster wheel doing production. We're talking about building diversity, multiple streams of income. Why? Because that's what entrepreneurs should do. And I challenge you guys to think more entrepreneurially in your own businesses. And that is how you build true long-term wealth that everybody can benefit from. So Steven, man, such an honor to work with you, call you a friend, and just so excited to watch the crazy things that you're going to do, which 0% of me believes that you won't do over 1,000 deals. In fact, I think you'll do 1,500 to 2,000 within the next 3 years. And I can't wait to bring you back on and share that. Let's open it up to some questions though.
That was man, we went.
What's
Hey, Steven.
Yep.
Hey, I was curious, as someone who's growing a team as well, first off, congrats. It's super inspiring. Love to hear from, I guess, a new agent coming onto your team. What does the offering look like? Like, what do you essentially offer them? Leads, marketing, whatever it is. And then what's the split back to the house?
Yeah, so good question. So it's obviously been something that has morphed over time, right? So we used to be just straight 50-50. However, we recently changed that late last year. So we do 50-50 for company buyer leads. We do a 45-55 on company listing leads. And then we do a 5% kickback to the ISA department, because the ISAs make 5% of each deal. So it's an ISA set appointment. Then that comes out of the agents. And then we do, so then we do SOI. We have levels. I have a bronze, silver, gold, platinum level. It's based upon production. So if you're a bronze level agent, which is what all the agents will start at, if they're new agents, they'll start at 60-40 SOI. And then like if you end up in the platinum area, you're a 90-10 SOI. And the reason I shifted that is because I really wanted to be a destination for agents. I don't want to be just a stepping stone. So if people want to come in and build a business within my business, I fully support that, and I will encourage that, right? Because for me, especially with the multiple lines of income, I can make back money on the mortgage side. As I launch title, I'll make money on the title side, right? It's going to be more than just that buyer. That's just one lead, right? Like, so, and I know I know the numbers, right? Like most agents, they're going to do, 5 to 10 SOI deals, but they always think they're going to do way more than that, right? So, so that would sometimes prevent them from wanting to be with a team long term. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that ejection out of front.
Nice.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Steven, can you post your website in the chat? Somebody was asking your website.
Yeah. Yep.
What other questions, guys? We've got a couple more minutes here. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, here's what I'm going to say. So recapping today really quick. You do need to exchange time for money to get things off the ground 100%. Like that is something you can't skip. You got to do that. It's very important. Number 2 is recognize when you need leverage. And I think like consistently, if you're doing 35 to 45, 50 deals a year, you definitely are ready for leverage, right? I think that's number 2. Mentorship. You need a good mentorship group around you. Having strong mentors can help you, like what you spend in mentorship, you'll make back 100 times over the course of your career. It's worth it, right? Guys like Steven, myself, we invest in mentors ourselves consistently. Steven and I are both working with the same coach as well, right? Like just to get that little bit better and reinforce some of the things that we're doing. So do that. Don't be a bottleneck in your business. Steven learned this the hard way. A lot of people do, right? Just because you're really smart, you're not being smart if nothing's getting done. So trust the people that you have some patience as well. Like I know we all have super high expectations, but you're dealing with humans when you're building a team, right? So have some patience. And Steven, thank you again, brother. This was amazing.
Hey, and one thing you forgot to do, which you know really well, is like get really fucking good people, because my people, I wouldn't trade them for anything.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. And I've always said this, Steven, like don't settle, always get amazing people, surround yourself with amazing people. You are only as good as your people. And I'm blessed to have like literally the most amazing people I would take bullets for in a heartbeat around me. And I know, Steven, you've done the same thing. And, the better that we do, the better that they do as well. And that's kind of a big philosophy in our model. So I love seeing everybody. Steven, keep crushing it, brother.
Yep.
If you guys have any referrals, Steven is in the Kansas City market?
Yeah, Kansas. Yep.
Kansas. So if you have anybody in Kansas, Steven and his team will take amazing care of them. Steven, what about how can people contact you if they have questions or they want to learn more about what you guys do?
Yep. So Facebook, probably easiest. So Steven Myers, you'll see my face. I am launching a kind of coaching page, the Charged Agent. So just kind of going with that. So it's going to be more about technology implementation into the real estate and mortgage world. So
love it, man. Awesome, guys. Have an amazing day. Thanks again, Steven.
Yep. Thank you.